The subject is world class manufacturing, and today we are going to learn about information age and global competitiveness. I, Dr. Rohan Prabhakar Dahivale, welcome you all. Structure for this information age and global competitiveness unit is given as follows. We are going to learn about the emergence of the information age, competing in the information age, business challenges of the information age, what will be the operating environment of information age business, global and international business, the basic concepts, India's global competitiveness and manufacturing excellence, world class manufacturing and information age competition, various manufacturing challenges of the information age, which are time based competition, various problems in the manufacturing industry, that is, problem of coordination. And after that, we will move towards conclusion. So, we'll start with the basic. First, we'll try to understand the emergence of the information age. American futurist Alvin Toffler has described three periods of the economic evolution. First is the agricultural age, which lasted from 8000 BC to the mid 18th century. The next economic evolution is the industrial age, which lasted until the late 20th century. And finally, the economic evolution has moved to the information age that begins in the 1960s and will last for many decades to come. This was according to Alvin Toffler in 1980. He quoted this. These dates are, of course, approximate and overlapping. The agriculture age was driven by the physical labor and the key sources of wealth were land and natural resources. Here, the critical factor of economic success was land. That means those who could dominate and possess land were guaranteed controlling role in the wealth. After this, that comes was the information age. Industrial age we'll talk about first. The industrial age was driven by the machines and various blue collar workers. During this period, a dramatic shift took place from the land to capital as the primary factor in generating wealth. The addition of more capital to the process of creating material wealth led to considerable increase in the effect and efficiency of technological and commercial activity. Yes, good afternoon. So, commercial activities. So, consequently, in this age, wealth passed from those who control the land to those who control the access to the capital. The rich were no longer the landowners, but were the owners of the capital. The ability to finance industrial endeavors became the scarcest commodity of production. So after agriculture age and industrial age, here comes the information age. So the information age, treated as the information economy, is driven by IT, that is information technology, and along with that various knowledge workers in concern with the changes of nature of the work and workers. It is also characterized by the emergence of the information or post-industrial society, which is dominated by knowledge workers, those working with information rather than producing goods. After World War II, capital started losing the scarcity because of enormous accumulations. Technology also began to change. So telecommunication, television, computers, commercial, air travels, and so on making the capital far more fungible and resilient, easier to move around, and therefore less scarce. With capital easily available, the critical production factor shifted to people, but it did not shift to simple labor. Instead, knowledge displayed capital as the scarce production factor and information began and become as the strategic resource. So in the information era, in, information is the strategic resources that was captured and applied by various industries. Now those who had knowledge and knew how to apply the knowledge would henceforth will be the wealthiest members of the society. Information thus become the source of knowledge as well as the medium to apply knowledge. Now, business in the industrial age and information age had different characteristics in various eras of the table. So now we will consider this table: emerging business trends in information age and industrial age. So from this table we can easily say that as far as the economic era is concerned, assembly line production, stable markets and suppliers, and domestic competition was the concepts for the industrial age business. For the information age business, as far as economic era is concerned, assembly line production is replaced by customization of products. Stable markets and suppliers are replaced by fluid markets and suppliers. And now no more domestic competition. Along with domestic competition, you are having international competition where the domestic players want to compete in the international market and various international competition has come down for the domestic competition. As far as organizational era is concerned, the inside out, that is bottom up approach, is replaced by outside in, that is top to bottom approach. Complex business processes replaced by reusable and simple organizational business processes. And intra-organizational communication is replaced by inter-organizational communication. Now, one organizational department can easily coordinate and communicate with the other organization departments. Also, domestic reach and ambition has replaced by the global reach and global ambitions. As far as technical era is concerned, mechanical technology is replaced by e-technology, that is electronic technology and digital technology. Proprietary standards are now replaced by open and interoperable standards, and predictable innovations are now no more there, but we are having the rapid, unpredictable innovations. Considering the socio-cultural area, the hierarchical and authoritarian industrial age business, now we can witness horizontal type of hierarchy. Business tasks now replaced by processes, and the organizations are more focused on processes rather than doing the task. And individual responsibility is replaced by the team responsibility. So we can say in the industrial age, wealth was created by manufacturing, and the process of making things was changed by the technology. Industrial organizations grew around the manufacturing operations and had owners, managers, and workers. Information was needed on what to make, how much to make, and the financial status of the company. Information technology used the word of mouth and pen on paper. The industrial organizations evolved through most of the 20th century, building on the process work of Frederick Taylor and Henry Ford. And the organizational work of Alfred Sloan. The industrial age organizations reached to its pinnacle from the 1960s through the early 1980s. Then new innovation and information technology emerged, computer-enabled organization that could store and process vast amount of data. Here we can say that there is explosion of data. With computers, companies were able to speed up their executions of their processes. Information became an additional source of power. In the competition, companies started effectively using information as the strategic resource. However, the processes and their attendant procedures did not change significantly till late 1980s, when the environment started undergoing the massive change and changing industry structures, and the era saw new strategic alliances, new technologies, and modes that altered the way the business was done. As a result, companies felt the pressure of heightened competition and the business impact of changing technologies. At the same time, the nature of both work and workforce also started changing. This was the dawn of the information age. So dawn of the information age already done, and now we will learn about how to compete in the information age. So the next part is competing in the information age. Organizations at the present, in the midst of revolutionary transformation, that of the competition shifting from the industrial age to the information age. During the information age, the success of company was measured by how well it could capture the benefits from economy of scale and scope. Technology was important, but ultimately, success occurred to companies that could embed the new technologies into physical assets that ensured efficient mass production of standard products. The emergence of the information era in the last decade of the 20th century made many of the fundamental assumptions of industrial age competition obsolete. Consequently, companies could no longer gain sustainable competitive advantage by merely deploying new technologies into physical assets rapidly. The information age environment requires new capabilities in organizations for competitive success. The ability of a company to mobilize and exploit its intangible assets has become far more decisive than investing and managing physical and tangible assets. Intangible assets enable an organization to develop customer relationship with loyalty, introduce innovative products and services, produce customized high-quality products and services at low cost and with short lead times, mobilize employee skills and motivation for continuous process improvement, and deploy information technology effectively. Now we'll learn what are various business challenges of the information age. To understand the world-class manufacturing, you must know in which age and which era we are working and operating our business, and what are various challenges for us. So according to Luftman, he wrote in 1996, information age competition has initiated some unique challenges that business have to cope up with, and we can describe three important: managing uncertainty, understanding customers, and understanding globalization of business. So we'll start with first managing uncertainty. What is uncertainty? Uncertainty in the business environment has become a way of life. Consequently, companies are finding it even more difficult to predict the changes. Companies are becoming competitions, competitors. Competitors are becoming partners, and unconventional competition is emerging. Businesses, however, must go on despite dramatic new environment that they are present, not well understood. Second is understanding customers. It is increasingly becoming important to understand customers' needs and wants, and to translate them into a unique value-added business mission. Companies capturing and applying information at each point of customer contact will therefore be better off than those that do not. Thus, companies have to able to apply and integrate information technology into the entire product process. That includes research, design, manufacturing, distribution, marketing, and after-sales services. Third is understanding globalization of business. Globalization is defined as a process that cuts across the national boundaries, integrating and connecting communities in new space-time combinations. As IT breaks down the barriers of time and location, distinctions are also breaking down between large and small companies. Small agile firms are more effectively competing with the industrial giants because IT can make a consortium of these small firms look, feel, and get big, reaching out for the customers once beyond their grasp. This has given rise to the intense competition. Also, because of this, blurring the boundaries between the domestic market and global market has been done. So these are various business challenges for the companies operating in the information age. Next is operating environment of the information age business. In order to compete in the information age, competency organizations are being structured on the basis of a new set of operating assumptions. These are listed here. This concept was proposed by Kaplan and Norton in 1996. So this is business process orientation, links to customers and suppliers, customer segmentation, global scale, managing innovation, and knowledge workers. So I will explain one by one. First, we'll start with business process orientation. In order to compete in the information age, we have seen the business process orientation is important. So industrial age organization gain competitive advantage through the specialization in functional skills areas like manufacturing, purchasing, distribution, marketing, etc. These specializations provided several benefits, but over the time it led to enormous inefficiencies, hands-off between the departments, and slow response processes. Information age organizations against this operates with the integrated business process that cut across the traditional business functions. They combine the specialization benefits from the functional expertise with speed, efficiency, and quality of integrated business processes. Next is linked to customers and suppliers. Industrial age organizations worked with customers and suppliers through an arm's length transaction. IT enables today's organization to integrate supply, production, and delivery process so that operations are triggered by the customer order and not by the production plan alone. An integrated system from the customers upstream to raw material suppliers enables all business units of the organization along the value chain to realize enormous improvements in cost, quality, and response time. Third, we'll talk about the customer segmentation. Again, industrial age organizes an organization proposed by offering low cost but standardized products and services. However, information age customers want more individualization and individualized solutions to their wants and needs. Therefore, information age organizations must learn to offer customized products and services to their diverse customer segments without paying the usual cost penalty for high variety, low volume operations. Fourth is global scale. Information age organizations are able to compete against the best in the world as domestic borders are no longer a barrier to competition. They must combine the beneficiaries and efficiencies and competitive honing of the global operations with marketing sensitivity to local customers. Now we'll talk about managing innovations in the information age. So in the information age, product life cycle continues to shrink. Competitive advantage is one generation of the product life is no guarantee of the product leadership in the next technological platform. This was quoted by Bauer and Christensen in 1995. Consequently, companies in industries with rapid technological innovation such as IT industry must be capable of anticipating the customer's future needs, designing radically new products and services, and rapidly deploying new product technologies into efficient operating processes. Last, we'll talk about the knowledge workers. Industrial age organization created sharp distinction between two group of their workers, white collar and blue collar. Firstly, the white collar managers and engineers who use their analytical skills, decision making abilities to design the products and processes, select and manage customers, and supervise day to day operations. The second group is blue collar workers, consisted of the people who actually produce the products and deliver the services. This direct workforce was a principal factor of production for information age organization, but it used only the physical and not mental capabilities. In the information age organizations, the percentage of blue-collar worker has intense competition, and the percentage of the blue-collar worker also reduced considerably, with a corresponding increase in number of workers of white collars due to high competitive demands. Even the contemporary blue-collar workers are evolved more in giving suggestions on how to improve quality, how to reduce production cost, and how to decrease the cycle times. Thus, all the employees are required to contribute value by what they know and by the information they can provide. They are thus becoming knowledge workers. So consequently, interesting in managing and exploiting the knowledge of every employee has become critical to the success of information age organizations. Next, we'll talk about globalization and international business. Now, since World War II, a number of factors have changed the manner of competition in the global business community. A particular catalyst for globalization may vary among different industries, but among the various causative factors are increased similarity in available infrastructure, distribution channel, and marketing approach among the countries, as well as a global market that allows large flow of funds between the countries. Additional causes include falling political and tariff barriers, a growing number of regional economic pacts that facilitate trade relations, and the increasing impact of the technological revolution in restructuring and integrating industries. Manufacturing issues associated with the flexibility, labor cost differentiates, and other factors also plays an important role in these market trends. Widespread globalization is also evident in a number of industries, such as software, telecommunication, and services. Consequently, economic activity today is becoming not merely internationalized, but more significantly, it is becoming increasingly globalized. Internationalization refers simply to the increasing geographical spread of economic activities across the national boundaries, which as such is not a new phenomenon. Globalization of economic activity is qualitatively different. It is a more advanced and complex form of internationalization that implies a degree of functional integration between internationally dispersed economic activities. Though globalization is a more recent phenomenon, it has already emerged as the norm in a global and growing range of economic activity. According to Porter in 1986, he quoted that every almost every sector of business is influenced by global forces due to globalization. And he also noted some characteristics of globalization. So on the screen you can see globalization is characterized by first, tightly linked global financial markets, global sourcing of inputs, marketing, and distribution of production and manufacturing of products and final products, increased pressure for improved product quality, and reduced product price, and evolution of business towards more comprehensive and continuous global coordination and integration. To compete successfully in this dramatically changing environment, firms need to be able to address effectively several key strategic issues. So, first issue is here you can see on the screen. First point: cost quality improvement through coordinated manufacturing. So, global competitive pressures push strongly to reducing the product delivery cost and at the same time to improve significantly the quality of products and all aspects of customer service. A common strategy used by firm for achieving this goal is to significantly tighten all the aspects of manufacturing processes, which includes coordination strategy such as just in time and overall quality improvement programs. Second on screen you can see is cost quality improvements through concurrent engineering. Another key element is better design of the product for manufacturing. To do this, integrated designs teams are formed, pulling together the product design, engineering, and manufacturing. Objective is to design a product for manufacturability as well as for other objectives. In such cases, packaging, distribution, marketing, research and development functions are also brought into the current engineering processes. Third one is the order cycle. What is order cycle? In many industry sector, take example of automobile, the product is built to customer order and it is generally customer specific. The order cycle begins when the customer places an order and the order cycle ends with delivery of completed product. In these sectors, therefore, a very key competitive issue is to significantly shorten the time the cycle takes. So order time should be as small as possible or the execution should be as fast as possible to be able to deliver the product to the customer as soon as possible after the order once it is placed. Fourth point is the after sales customer support. In many cases, customer support after the sales is a critical issue. Customers are demanding a high level of service for maintenance, including spare parts, availability and technical skills of service staff, add-on products and services such as training, documentation, and product upgrades are also required. A high level of customer support capability is carried and required, but it can also be profitable. Next is the design cycle. In many industries, product life is becoming shorter and shorter. Intense competition results in even shorter product lives. What do you understand by product life cycle? Once the product is introduced in the market, till the product vanishes or declines from the market, the time span is known as product life cycle for that particular product. So suppose we'll just take example a mobile phone say Note 7. So Note 7 launched in January 2021 and the product vanishes from the market in June 2021. Then the product life cycle was from June to January. That is for approximately 6 months it was there in the market. So that is the product life cycle of that product. So in July, you will not get that product from the market. And new product like after Note 7, there may be Note 8 or Note 9. So those product will be replaced by the previous product. So the product life is becoming shorter and shorter. Intense competition results in even shorter product lives. The time is taken to conceive of a new product, design it, and put it into manufacturing, and also deliver it to the market. that too with a full support network. In the place, the design cycle is becoming shorter and shorter. The shorter design cycle also means newer technology put on the market. Thus, a company that takes 6 years to begin a new car model today must be using the older technology, while the company with a 3-year design cycle may be competing in the next coming years. That means whatever product we are seeing in the market now as the fresh or new product or newly launched product, the design and research and development has been started maybe 2 or 3 years back, depending on the sector and depending on the product. And whatever is being prepared or developed or innovate in the lab or research and development labs currently, like in this month, we may get that product after 6 months or 1 year or 2 years in the market. So this is about design cycle. Now last 2 points are remaining. First is globally coordinated flexible manufacturing. Global sourcing of component and sub-assemblies, along with global distribution into multiple markets and an efficient use of the network of global manufacturing and assembly parts, is leading to globally coordinated manufacturing. In this new style of flexible manufacturing, the objective is to coordinate production planning and scheduling among the multiple plants in many countries and across product lines to respond to changing market and production conditions. Last is globally coordinated research and development. Global coordination of the research and development is driven by the need for product development for global markets and by the recognition that unique search competency exists in many different countries and cultures. When a company strives to tap these competencies, it also wants to take a cost-effective approach so that undesired duplication and overlap is minimized. Managing research and development in global situation is especially critical. For example, in the pharmaceutical industry, clinical trials and regulatory approvals applications must be undertaken in many countries relatively simultaneously. Consequent to the above characteristics of globalization, global markets and competition, the uncertainty and complexity of the environment in which firms must conduct business is increasingly with time. Uncertainty and complexity in turn bring about the need for an organizational capacity to handle greater and faster communication and information processing. Succeeding is the in this innovative and information intensive world will therefore require a new organizational form and IT capabilities that operates on a global scale. Now we'll learn the current scenario. So in the book, some old data is there. So we can consider according to the report of World Bank on global economy. This data has been generated. So developing countries over the next 10 years will grow up by 5% a year compared to the rate of 2.7% in the rich industrial world by 2020. So India should be the fourth largest economy in the world. Unfortunately, India was at the 45th in the global competitiveness among the 49 countries. So according to the 1996 Global Competitiveness Report of the World Economic Forum. From the 35th position in 1994, it has moved to the 39th position, and in 1996 it has further declined to the 45th position. India's decline in the competitiveness is that way shocking. For a country such as India, which needs high growth levels to generate the enough resources to al- elevate the poverty levels, this is dangerous. So it is therefore critically important that immediate steps should be taken to revise and reverse the trend. Whereas there are many factors contributing to the India's poor global competitiveness. So according to the above report of the World Bank on global economy, such as the openness, governance, government finance, infrastructure, technology, are the main concern of the management factors where India has slipped from the 39th position to 43rd position. Now, manufacturing process. And manufacturing is the process that adds value to the raw materials and various resources that we have collected from various raw material suppliers and is heart of the economy. Manufacturing process and production sector is the heart of the economy. We have seen the last decade has witnessed fierce competition in international markets led by Japan and newly industrialized countries. Many management paradigms emerging mainly from the industrial management practices of the Japanese companies have changed the manufacturing perspective of the people in various countries. Technologies and past practices also included. Besides this, due to the sustained recession in the industrialized countries, MNCs, multinational companies, have been increasingly seeking exports of the manufactured goods and capital in the new market. Unfortunately, in order to compete against these world-class manufacturers, cheap labor, that is low cost available, as in India, is the seldom a major competitive advantage with India. Experience, market share, and technology innovations are the greater determinant of the cost leadership and cheap labor. So this was quoted by Chandra and Shukla in 1994. Superior product quality, design innovations, robust, robust delivery performance, customization, and excellent after-sale service are the distinctive manufacturing characteristics needed to gain the competitive advantage. The ability to deliver these capabilities reset on management's perspective, competition, and the manufacturing practices of the company. Historically, Indian industries developed management practices that suited the restrictive industries policies of the past. Until the early 1980s, the demand for most manufactured goods exceeded the supply. Consequently, again, the Indian manufacturers prefer to exploit the limited but adequate domestic markets. Since the restrictive policy regime suited and reinforced their inward orientation, industrial management practices did not emphasize either consumer orientation or the manufacturing excellence needed in a competitive environment. Also, we can say that in 1980s witnessed a consumerist boom for domestic industrial products, which was accompanied by the appearance of the new industrial entrant, as well as changes in the global trade regime. Under these pressures, India in mid-1980s undertook a gradual liberalization of the industrial policy. The opening up of the Indian economy posed new challenges and opportunities to Indian manufacturers. Indian industries started seeking export markets that had become attractive following the decline in the value of the Indian rupees. But an industry's competitive advantage cannot be built nor suited solely by the export market orientation. Development of the domestic market is a vital determinant of the competitive advantage of the industry. The size, consumer sophistication, and growth of domestic demand shape the characteristics of an industry products that are essential to the competitive success in the foreign markets. India has a large market that can provide domestic industries the scale economy that is essential for the cost leadership. But the quality of domestic demands, rather than its quantity, is more important in shaping the competitive advantage of the domestic industry. Quality of the domestic demand has never been nurtured by the Indian manufacturer. To successfully compete with the world-class manufacturers in the domestic as well as in the global market, Indian firms will have to offer high-quality product choices to the domestic customers in order to create a sustainable base for the national manufacturing excellence. Now we'll see world-class manufacturing and information age competition. In the changed globalized business environment, it is no longer feasible to compete only on the basis of cost without paying much attention to the real consumer preferences represented by the other product dimension. Consequently, many new manufacturing approaches have emerged mostly as a reaction to dynamically changing situations in the marketplace, where increased competition and market globalization have greatly affected the distribution of market share and profit margins. These new approaches to manufacturing are based on a pragmatic philosophy distilled from the worldwide experience in manufacturing. The major concepts are independent of technology, though they may be applied differently with the technical advances. Taken independently, none of these concepts are new. In fact, they all have been antecedents dating to the early 20th century, if not there. In spite of this, they have a novelty of thinking in that they combine the best and simplest practices into an elegant whole of a given approach. Manufacturing excellence, which is aimed of these approaches, refer to an improvement in the broadest context. This excellence can be attained by a combination of several approaches to manufacturing. According to Hall, the excellence can be attained by a combination of several approaches of manufacturing, and these approaches are given. These are quoted by Hall in 1987. So you can see on the screen value-added manufacturing, which means do nothing that does not add value to the product or the value for the customer. Second is continuous improvement in manufacturing, which suggests that every aspect of manufacturing is dedicated to making it better in ways great or small. And lastly, total quality control or just-in-time management concept. Now, world-class manufacturing was the term introduced for referring the goal of achieving and sustaining world-class competitiveness through manufacturing excellence, attended through best practices. In this context, different experts have expressed the goals and necessary practices of the world-class manufacturing differently, but always with the implicit goals of sustained competitiveness in the globe and global marketplace. We can take example of Schonberg, who introduced the term world-class manufacturing in 1986. He states that it has the goal of continual improvement in quality, cost, lead time, and customer service, and also the flexibility. Author Gunn in 1987 suggests a number of criteria for evaluating a world-class manufacturing status that includes inventory turnover, quality defects, and lead time. According to Gunn, a company needs inventory turnovers in raw materials and work in process of some 25 to 30% to be a Class C world-class manufacturer, about 50 to 60% and turns uh, per year for a B class status, and of order 80 to 100% turns or more per year to be a Class A world-class manufacturer. As a measure of world-class quality, Class A manufacturer should have fewer than 200 defective parts per million parts of the product it manufactures. Also, as for lead times, the ratio of value-added time to cumulative manufacturing lead time must be greater than 0.5 of a company to be a world-class manufacturer. Maskell in 1991 states that world-class manufacturing is a very broad term which generally included and includes the focus on the product quality, just-in-time production techniques, workforce management, and flexibility in meeting the customer requirements. In 1996, Keeney characterized world-class manufacturing by three core strategies of customer focus, quality, and agility. Agility is the ability to quickly and efficiently and effectively respond to the various changes occurring. And other six supporting competitiveness and competencies that includes employee involvement, supply management, technology, product deployment, environmental responsibility, and employee safety along with corporate citizenship. The information age has affected not only the industrialized countries but also developing countries. Again, consequently, the environmental facing developing countries has become more increasingly more turbulent, dynamic, and complex. A combination of external and internal factors, including population growth, weak infrastructure, foreign indebtedness, and asymmetric world relations, and increasingly inequalities between the individuals, groups, and regions, has prevented many developing countries from achieving the significant socio-economic improvements in their country. Some developing countries, such as India, have therefore made economic management their prime agenda. They are going through a process of reconstructing their economy to emphasize competition, integration with the global markets, and increasing level of privatization. Thus, the Indian manufacturing industry has been thrust from the protected environment of the license permit quota Raj to an uncertain environment of global competition and global markets. Now we'll just come to this particular figure. Before that, we'll just discuss few things again. Global competitions and competitors operating in the global markets almost always tend to have world-class status. Therefore, to be globally competitive, Indian manufacturers necessarily need to achieve the world-class performance. Oddly enough, as stated earlier, developing countries such as India, China, Brazil themselves constitute a huge market that attracts many world-class companies from the other countries to sell their products. Thus, even domestic companies in these countries who are not targeting the global markets are forced to compete with these world-class companies by virtue of their entry into the domestic market. This is facilitated by the liberalization policy of the government of these countries, often somewhat at a pace that does not give time to the domestic companies to be really ready for world-class performance. Thus, it is clear from this particular figure that is displayed on the screen, Indian manufacturers need to acquire world-class status irrespective of the fact that they operate only in the domestic markets and are exporters. Achieving world-class performance is a great opportunity for those who can make it, and for others a serious threat. Though to some extent, Indian manufacturers have realized this and are trying to rise to the challenges. Their battle for survival and growth has just begun. Their success will depend on readiness to move from a protected domestic to the world-class global manufacturing status quickly and confidently. Now just look at this figure. Who are your marketers? Like your market is local or global, that you need to understand. And next on the x-axis you see who are your competitors. If your competitors can be your local or global. So if you're playing in the local market, your products are there in the local market and you're facing the local competition, no global players, only local competition players, then you are in the domestic market. If you are facing the local competition and you are operating or trying to operate in the global market, then you are called as exporters. If your competitors are global but you are in the local market only, then there will be some multinational players for you. And to be a world class manufacturer company, your market should be global along with local, plus your competitors also should be global along with local. Then only you can have the world class manufacturer status. So after this, uh, few points are still remaining. So first is manufacturing challenges of the information age, time-based competition. Time will be the primary competitive motive of business in the 21st century. It does not mean, however, that other motives such as cost, quality, services, etc., that can be ignored. In fact, these are prerequisites to sustain competitiveness. But the winning factor is provided by time and enhancement to the basic products. Reducing time is not critical in itself, it is the benefits achieved through the time reduction in the form of greater cash flow, less inventory, quicker customer support, and ultimately greater profits that make time based competition worthwhile. However, time based competition does not just refer to manufacturing but to the entire product or value supply chain. which includes product development, order processing, supply delivery, pre-production, manufacturing, final assembly, and distribution. Thus, in the manufacturing environment, time-based competition becomes the highest priority to gain responsiveness and flexibility. So you can just look at this figure. Responsiveness and flexibility have several important dimensions. One of the product mix that need to support the maximum variety in end products with minimal dispersion to managing and manufacturing operations. Others relate to upgrading of plant and equipment in order to start production quickly. The driving force behind this priority setting is the need and the wish to respond to virtually any customer request just in time. Flexibility, on the contrary, is the response of system to environmental uncertainties, that is unknown customers. Thus, the 1990s will need a information culture to manage uncertainties which will no longer be pushed. So this is the era 1960 to 2000, uh, saturate the uh, growth from growth to turnover to productivity and market diversification flexibility need to achieve. Also, we are having this flexible manufacturing for meeting business objectives. So, business objectives suppose is product innovation, then you should have the flexibility in product technology. For product diversity, you should achieve better product mix or flexible product mix. For a customer requirement, you must have flexibility in designing. To achieve the market share, you must have volume. And if your business objective is meeting delivery dates, then you must have flexibility in routing and sequencing. Forward by technology, it will be controlled by the information feedback. This leads us to the second challenge industry that we are facing today: how to manage knowledge. So, how to manage knowledge? So, in the 21st century, the productivity and, even more important, the effectiveness of managers and white collar workers will become critical to long term survival. The effectiveness of these experts depends on the smooth integration in the organization. Therefore, in the era of advanced specialization, integration of dispersed knowledge will become progressively more difficult and more costly to achieve. Knowledge will become the scarce and the most crucial and expensive economic resource. Of late, the dependence of the organization experts, mainly through the increase of informal power generated by the expert knowledge, has been analyzed in detail. Managing knowledge would therefore be a big challenging in the 21st century due to strategic potential. And last part of the chapter, problems in the manufacturing industry, that is problem of coordination. Once the company has defined its manufacturing strategy, it has to initiate mechanism for managing product complexity as well those for managing the demand uncertainty in the form of uncertain orders, both perhaps at the same time. The challenges and the challenge of managing product complexity to improve the productivity goal, that is goal of mass production strategy, whereas the challenge of the market uncertainty to improve the flexibility, that is goal of mass customization strategy. So product complexity is managed by breaking down a manufacturing task into number of subtasks and number of operations. Executing these subtasks and operations in parallel improves the productivity. But if different subtasks are performed by the different workers, that is division of labor, Then the productivity improvement is restricted by coordination cost, which may otherwise exceed the productivity gains. This is true for expert knowledge, the other resource required to execute operations. Thus, a basic problem in manufacturing is the problem of coordination, which would be stated as you can see on the screen first. After exploiting a manufacturing task into thousands of types of tasks, how difficult and costly it is to ensure their proper sequencing, scheduling, and interaction over a period of time. Second is after dividing the task expertise among the hundreds of incomplete experts workers, how difficult and costly is it to maintain their coordination, motivation, and performance? Third, as we divide information into millions of tiny bytes, how difficult and expensive is it to achieve integration, record, and update? That answer to the sequential is that it gets progressively more difficult and more costly. Therefore, as the complexity and cost of integration and coordination become too large, we tend to focus on the question of reintegration. In this context, just-in-time efforts aim at the reintegration of physical labor through flow lines, whereas a computer-integrated manufacturing (CIM) anticipates the reintegration of spatial expertise organized in the functional departments through integrated information process. What is the need of control? For managing task complexity, coordination is required. Likewise, to manage the market uncertainty, planning and control is required. Management by hierarchical planning and control copes with uncertainties by adoption of environmental and optimization of controller parameters. For instance, a production schedule should be optimized to increase the system responsiveness to demand, to keep the due dates, to reduce the total flow time, and to balance the factory loads. This is the planning problem. Against this, the control problem deals with the machine sharing the policies, lot of splitting of the job sequences, that is, with exploiting resource efficiency and respecting due dates in the face of uncertainty. So in general, the breakdown of long to short term planning decisions indicates the level of complexity of decisions. This is managed by defining a family of decision problems and generating solutions to a sequential top-down manner. Second point is fragmented information infrastructure. Today, the manufacturing industry is still striving for stability of its production system as a major organization goal. Therefore, in most manufacturing firms, management of change is not yet considered as a permanent objective, whether just in time or CIM. Whichever way task coordination is managed, a seamlessly integrated information infrastructure is must. However, information processing is still very fragmented even in computerized application. Therefore, in many companies, the decision-making process is still based on traditional information processing, information gathering with paper and pencil on the request from the inconsistent sources. This process is at least very time consuming and may yield only insufficient or even unreliable information. Last point, insufficient processability and available information. In addition to having a fragmented information infrastructure, most companies are still not organized for fast decision-making processes. The departments are still managed according to their own sub-goals rather than the real enterprise goal. The responsibilities are still structured in one-dimension hierarchy, which mix responsibility of enterprise assets with those for enterprise operations. With this, we are moving to the conclusion. Now we will conclude this chapter, then we'll stop. So, what we have learned today: with the dawn of information age, the requirement for remaining competitive in the manufacturing has become more demanding. Only recently, high quality and efficiency were the necessity and sufficient conditions for staying in the business, but not anymore. Now, manufacturers must able to rapidly develop and produce customized products to meet the customer needs. To further complicate matter, the requirement for economies of scale based on the traditional assumptions of mass production are coming into direct conflict with the requirement for economies of scope, that is mass customization, by maintaining continuous innovation while using people and equipment to cost effectively produce smaller amounts of a range of product. On top of it, globalization has imposed as the additional constraint which manufacturers must believe. World-class manufacturer status to compete effectively in both domestic as well as global markets. This requires a paradigm shift within the organization, which may be termed as integrated manufacturing and which aim to eliminate barriers by creating a streamlined flow of automated value-added activities interrupted by the transportation, storage, and rework. Also, we have seen that integrated manufacturing is driven by the widespread adoption of the advanced manufacturing techniques such as ATM, TQM, that is total quality management, and JIT, just in time, along with inventory control. These together are important strategic potential in that they blend the stages, functions, and goals of manufacturing. Rather than viewing performance as the result of trade-off between, for example, cost and quality and integrated manufacturing, perspective posts and firms can pursue several outcomes simultaneously. As the last concluding lines, we can say currently most manufacturers in India are, however, close to the world-class status. They therefore have to face the challenges of meeting the world-class performance through the flexibility and responsiveness that can be achieved by effective planning, control, and coordination that enabled by integrated manufacturing and effective knowledge management. Unfortunately, there have been many decisions and discussions on the national infrastructure and macroeconomic policies in the nation media, but very little attention has been paid in designing the policies that maps the managerial practices to manufacturing excellence of the world-class status. While macroeconomic factors affect the investment climate and the extent of resources available to enhance the productivity, they fail to define and control the parameters of the competition, namely cost, quality, delivery, and flexibility. Economic reforms in India have already started opening up the new challenges and new opportunities for the Indian industries. Whether the Indian firms will be able to capitalize these opportunities and elevate themselves to the viable global competitors shall depend primarily on their dynamism and ability to transform themselves